So, welcome to the Authentic Creative, expanding our capacity to feel good podcast. And I just love saying that because it reaffirms the importance of that over everything else. Like, what if that was a priority? And it could be a priority every day that we feel
Absolutely.
good. So, I want to get into that more with you, Carolee, because I think your previous podcast was called Seeking Sunshine, and you are a sparkly diamond. And so we're going to talk about it. Karaleigh Garrison is a singer-songwriter, a dynamic motivational speaker, and a personal transformation coach. Her podcast, Multi-Passionate Mama, I love that name, by the way, encourages entrepreneurs to embrace every facet of their personality. Like diamonds, we sparkle from many angles. Karaleigh combines her love for music, entrepreneurship, and storytelling in a unique, memorable way that inspires people to do more of what lights them up. She seeks to guide her audience to a greater sense of purpose and helps them cultivate courage in the face of adversity, strive for momentum even when it's messy, and authentically align their purpose with the divine. Find more at KaraleighGarrison.com. So KARALEIGH Garrison.com. Guys, I'm so excited because Karaleigh has become such a soul sister to me, and I was on her podcast and it was super fun. And then Karaleigh came into my Akashic record reading course and we dove deep into the spiritual. It was absolutely beautiful. She was on a couple episodes that I put out that were Akashic record reading episodes on this podcast. So go ahead if you would like and go back and listen to those because they're pretty powerful. And I just want to say, Karaleigh, thank you for always, speaking of the authentic creative, showing up authentically, always being transparent, always having courage, like you say in your bio, that you encourage other people to do, always having courage to, even in the face of challenges, adversity, all sorts of life is hard and adulting is hard and parenting is hard and making money can sometimes be hard or it feels hard. We have obstacles. So everyone has their obstacles. You have obstacles, I have obstacles. But what makes you, Karaleigh, so brilliant is your ability to shine like a diamond, to see the positive, to always just fully, fully, fully be you in your true self. And like, just it inspires me. It inspires the women that I see you in rooms full of like hundreds of women, and you sparkle like a diamond. And you, for example, get up on stage and just sing a song even when we're not supposed to. And I'm cheering you on because yes, mama, like go get it. And I'm just proud of you. You're multi-passionate, you're multi-talented. You show up for me in so many ways. And I appreciate you so dearly. So,
Thank
how
you.
are you today?
So you're such a great cheerleader. I am amazing. I'm just starting this new kind of chapter in my life, and it's been such an identity shift. And whenever we have something big like this that happens, it kind of can shake us when we
Yeah.
have to step into something new and go, wait a minute, who am I? How is this affecting the way that I see myself? And that's what kind of what I've been in the middle of is figuring all that out.
Yes, stepping into this new opportunity that you created for yourself, which is what? Do you want to share a little bit so we know?
Yeah. So I guess my background is kind of I originally went to college to sing opera, and then I
Amazing.
didn't, yes, and then I didn't get into the program, and I was brokenhearted, and I got married and had three kids and went back to college to sing opera. Still didn't get in the program, and then I pivoted and studied costume design and makeup design. And
Costume
so
and makeup, which if you
costume and
guys are
makeup.
watching the YouTube version of this, you'll see Carolee is always just so beautifully shining. Like her makeup's beautiful, her jewelry's beautiful, her outfits are beautiful, her hair's done. Like she always makes an effort. Go ahead.
Dressing up's like my favorite thing to do. So I'm a singer-songwriter, but at the same time, I also love dressing up. Like I think one of my favorite, like when I think about getting on a stage and singing, half of the reason I want to do that is because I want to dress up to be on the stage. So
Yes, yes.
that's amazing. And so all three of my kids have special needs. So that's kind of been where a huge proportion of my energy has gone over the last like decade plus.
Yeah,
My kids
understandably.
are, yeah, my youngest is 10 and my oldest is 14. So that's kind of their ages right now. And then my husband's been disabled for the last decade and he's doing better now. But for a long time, I was like all of their primary caretaker. So
Yes.
came back to college, finished and graduated in 2021. So I was like a forever college student for like 12 years.
Amazing.
And then I dove into music and I wrote my album and produced it and started my podcast and
How
really
long have
dove
you been
in
podcasting?
since fall of 2021. So it's been just about 3 years. I think
Okay.
November will be the 3 year mark.
Okay, we're basically in the same,
Yeah.
yeah, just about
And
3 years here too.
podcasting has been life changing. Like one of my other dreams is to like public speaking. I love getting on stages. I'm actually now somehow magically the president of Toastmasters, which has been,
Yes.
I don't know how you talk, but
Congratulations.
somehow there's that. And back in May, after graduating college and totally shifting gears of what I was doing with my life, my professors from college reached out to me and said, "Hey, we need somebody to teach this makeup course at the college."
Amazing.
And it had all these requirements of like, you're supposed to have a master's degree and you're supposed to have all this teaching experience. And I didn't have any of it because I wasn't planning on pursuing that professionally. And yet here I am with this job that I'm officially teaching college students somehow. And it's like, I don't like, how did this happen? Like, I don't know. So now I'm teaching makeup on a collegiate level, which like first of all, it doesn't even sound like a real thing that a person could do. You teach makeup at a what? But that's a thing that I'm doing is teaching makeup for theater to college students.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. And so
Literally
here I
and
am.
figuratively and all levels
Yeah.
gorgeous. I really want to make, just want to highlight with a makeup brush, let's glitter highlight the fact that what you just said was that you didn't have a degree for this because anything is possible. And it's really about who you are and who you're showing up as. And it's not about following every rule, but you never gave up. You kept going to college and you imbued trust. Like there was relationship building that obviously happened there, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah, yeah. We're all amazing friends. Like I walked into this interview and we all gave each other hugs, and I was like, these are such supportive, amazing people that I'm now colleagues with, which feels
Yeah.
amazing.
So I think that what I'm hearing is relationships are everything. That's what I've always grown up to know. And you're just affirming that to me.
Yeah.
That if you
Well,
really just show up and be the light that you are and help people the way you, because you're such a helper, you're such a supporter, you're such a cheerleader, you're such a strong person for so many people, not just your family, but for clearly like the community at large. And I know how you show up for other people's podcasts and produce it for them.
yeah.
So I think that making those causes of kindness and showing up for others is also part of your magic.
Yeah. It's it's so funny how before I never felt that sense of community on a personal level until I started my podcast, until I started really witnessing other people's stories, but it was actually there all along, like you're speaking to.
I've heard that a lot. I heard that yesterday in an interview I was giving, that podcasting is a community, that it's created community, specifically and especially for mothers that feel isolated because we have been unfortunately, in so many ways, isolating ourselves societally. And we're not in villages anymore on the grand scheme of things. There's exceptions, of
Mhm.
course, but like just speaking about my reality and what you're sharing, it's like we don't live in these communal spaces, most of us. And it's so fantastic that, yes, okay, COVID sucked on so many levels and still continues to be challenging. But what it gave us was Zoom became a
Yes.
thing, and
Mhm.
podcasting has blown up.
Yeah.
And here we are. And
Mhm.
these conversations for so many women and men too, but let's talk about us, are life changing to connect heart to heart with another soul and to say, here's my transparent, authentic, real truth of what's really going on. Here's where I'm growing. Here's where I'm challenged. Here's what I'm learning. Here's my hot tip for the day. Like, here's the life
Yeah.
lessons. It's
Mhm.
so phenomenal. And I wonder what it would have been like for our mothers to have had this. It would have been so healing for them.
Mhm.
They would have gotten to talk about so much more. So I'm happy that we have this
Absolutely.
now and we can interview our moms and,
I know. Well, and I
get
look
it out
back and
there.
like my childhood was super isolated. There wasn't like a huge community around us, and I look at it and it's like motherhood is so isolating because motherhood is so messy. Raising children is really messy, and messiness is not something that's readily tolerated in society these days.
Yes.
Like you're expected to have children that are just kind of perfect and are just they're silent and they're doing what they're told and they're doing all these things, and my kids have autism. They are not sitting around ready to just put on the perfect clothes and walk out the door and do the things. My kids are doing their own thing and happy to do whatever they want and to speak however they feel like speaking, because the filter that was placed on me so heavily when I was growing up is not on them.
Yes.
They do not care. But
Yes.
I'm still worried about all the judgment because of how I was raised,
Yeah.
of, showing up in that particular way that
Yeah.
so, for so long it was like, no, you must, be
Fit
appropriate.
in,
You must
belong,
show
don't be
up. And it,
ostracized, don't be judged. Yeah,
yeah,
you're going to be thrown out of this establishment, this village, this home, this. I
yeah.
have this thing that comes up for me where I get super triggered if anyone in my family is being really loud in a way that I think other people can see or hear.
Mm,
And
yeah.
so I have found this pattern where we'll be at an Airbnb or maybe like Great Wolf Lodge, which is, like this adventure
Yeah.
hotel, right? And one of my kids might, in the past, have a meltdown quite loudly. And in those situations, immediately I'm in complete fight or flight. I'm in
Shame.
total
Like,
shame.
yeah.
You read my mind, total shame. And I am like it's as if I'm in the middle of a Holocaust. That kind of energy. It's like, oh my God, we're gonna die. We are gonna get kicked out, ostracized, abandoned, shamed, all the horrible things that could ever happen. They're gonna happen because someone's gonna hear you being loud. And you and I have been doing past life work. It's like, wow, clearly that was some sort of past life ancestral trauma that my mom took on, or my dad took on, or both, that I have now carried through, or a past life that I had, right? Like it's visceral. So I'm bringing this back to you to ask you, what are you doing that's helping you? What have you figured out around that?
Yes. Well, first, I want to say that it's not like past life work is so powerful, but there's real experiences in my life where it's
True.
been like
Yes.
people have come up to me to say things like I have let's see, my son Joshua is now 13 and he's severely autistic and kind of semi-verbal and he's type 1 diabetic, and his favorite thing to do is to scream profanities and he thinks it's hilarious. He
Right.
thinks it is so
Right.
funny.
Right.
And he
Yes.
makes jokes and they're just like a couple words long and he thinks and they're nonsense. Like, but he
My
thinks it's
youngest likes to
so
try
funny.
to curse. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I get
He
it. I
thinks
hear you.
it's so funny, but my youngest thinks that
Hmm.
it's he carries that shame and he thinks it's the end of the world. So he will
Right.
basically try to stop his brother from doing
Right.
this in and then it in and then my two
And
are
then it's like
brawling.
compounded.
Right. They're literally brawling in the middle of Walmart. And I'm like,
Right.
oh my gosh, it would, yeah, it's a thing. And I've had little ladies come up to me and be like, what would stop that? Do you know what
Oh.
fixes autism? It's called a spanking. And I'm like, oh,
Oh, yeah.
actually.
Oh,
And
yes.
the thing is, I've heard this a few times. Tracy Litt's one of my absolute favorite people. She taught me this, and it has come back over and over and over again. All trust is self-trust.
Mm,
All shame, it's all self-shame. All judgment
mm,
is self-judgment.
mm.
When somebody is saying something to you
Yeah.
and you take it to heart, it's not
Mm.
because of them, it's because of you.
Yes.
It's
Yes,
because
yes.
something in what they are saying to you rings true to you. It's because on some deep level, you believe them.
Yeah, because if my shirt's green and you say my shirt is purple, because you're
Mhm.
projecting onto me, but I know it's green, I'm not going to be triggered. I'm just going to be like, well, if I don't have trauma around it.
It's literally my favorite example, and I always use purple, by the way.
Okay.
I love it. I know. My husband's like, "Why do you always say purple?" And I'm like, "Probably because purple's my favorite." Anyways, yeah, I'm like, if somebody
Yes.
calls you purple, you're like, "But that doesn't make any sense because I'm not purple," and so you don't take offense to it because you're like, "That's not actually true."
Mhm.
Like, this shirt's not purple. My hair is
Yeah.
not purple. Whatever you called out that I didn't believe was true, I don't. I'm like, that doesn't ring true for me, so I'm not taking offense to it. It only causes offense in us if we actually believe it on some deep level. And so if some random stranger or some family members, because it can hurt more when it's coming from someone close
Mm,
to you, if
yeah.
they're saying something like, you should be a better parent because your
Ugh,
children are being loud or
that cuts
something to
deep.
that effect,
Yeah.
it cuts deep because you believe it.
Yeah.
You
And we
didn't believe
all,
it.
I feel like, have that soft, vulnerable, sensitive aspect of
Mm,
us as a mother that's always questioning, am I doing enough? Am I being enough? Am I
yeah.
a
Yep.
good enough
Yep.
mom?
And
And
that's
so
where
it's
kind
like,
of,
ooh, get my mother wound up. Yeah. Okay.
yeah. And so that's where the self-worth piece is absolutely the most important thing. Like if I could
Yes.
like teach anybody ever like that the most important thing in the entire world is to know your worth.
Yes.
And they tell you that you teach what you most need to know.
Yep.
So, there you go. There's mine. It's knowing that you are so freaking valuable. It's
Mm,
knowing how to trust yourself and to
yeah.
know that you are doing your best
Yeah.
and to trust it and leave it at that.
Hmm.
In those parenting moments, they're not black and white.
Yeah.
Are they're every
There's
shade
so
of
many
gray.
layers.
There's so many
Yes.
layers and you can only do the best in that moment that you know how to do, and we keep going back and going, oh, now that I know more, let me blame my past self for having not known more in that moment, and that's not fair.
That's not helping anyone, beating ourselves
It's
up.
hurting
Yeah.
yourself so much.
Yeah. Yeah. So beautiful. So it sounds like what you're saying is just really come back to knowing that you're doing your best in those moments where you feel that kind of public shame bubbling up, that potential judgment or criticism
Hmm.
because of something that you're not in control of.
Hmm. I don't super believe in regrets, and I've had plenty of people who are like, "What? How can you not believe in regrets?" It's like we all do things that we're like, "Oh, I kind of wish I had done that," but all you can do is move forward.
Yeah.
All you can do is apologize and do your
Mhm.
best to make amends for
I
something
was just
and
thinking the word
fix.
repair is so
Right,
big.
repair it in the future, but you can't do anything about the past. All you can do is go, wait a minute, I know why I did that, or start to understand yourself better. I think our
Mm,
journey in this life is really all about understanding ourselves better.
yeah.
And every step we take, if we could just learn who we are better and why we do what we do to a greater degree, like that's what we're here for. And if
Mhm.
you can understand yourself better, like that's how you become a better human to all the people around you.
Yeah, it's just like with history. If we learn it, we'll hopefully, ideally, in an ideal world, not repeat it. And same with our own history. If we learn, you're saying the causes of these circumstances, behaviors,
Yeah.
happenings, what have you, then ideally we can start to make better
Yeah.
choices and then have compassion when we mess up. And like you
Mhm.
said, life is messy. I really feel like we don't learn anything, and I know this is a topic you like to talk on, by being perfect. That has never taught us very much. It's really in our messiness that we learn all the good stuff.
Yeah, we learn what the next right step is so that we can then pivot because we don't know what energetically like we're going to really feel correct in this moment. If that makes any sense. Like you can't really know until you take that step, until you step into it. Like starting as a professor, I was really, really struggling with this. This isn't my identity. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a singer. Like this isn't who I am. I'm not sure if this is the
Mm.
path I wanted to take.
Yes, yes,
I don't know if this is right for me.
yes.
But as I allowed it to kind of settle, I started realizing all the ways in which this was going to help me grow and become
Mm.
more confident and all the ways I was blocking my own growth by not allowing this to happen. And we do that a lot. We tend to block our own growth with all of these reasons instead of
Yeah,
just like surrendering to
yeah.
what the growth and to what the universe has decided is best
I'm
for us.
curious how you feel that you manifested this job and how you feel that you got out of your own way.
Well, I want to start by saying it took a lot of months and a lot of hemming and hawing and I don't knows and like ooh like really sticky energy around it. It
Hmm.
wasn't just like a here you go, and it was a lot of like almost pushing. Like if it had just been up to me, I might have hemmed and hawed my way out of it.
Right.
I was fully expecting a moment in this very long hiring process where they were like, "Okay, so do you want the job?" They never did that. At no point in this process were they like, well, what's your decision? Because I probably would have been like, oh, I'm not sure. Instead, they were like, here you go. It's yours. Welcome to the team. And I was like, oh, well, it would be really awkward to back out now, wouldn't it? It was kind of like, you're doing this. Congratulations. Like when I had originally applied, I was like, they'll never take me. I don't have any of the requirements. Why would they take me for this? Right. And then it was just sort of like, no, this is the direction you're going, Carolee. There you go. This is where you need to be. And I feel like sometimes we're really just pushed in the directions that we're supposed to go in. And I had, most people were like, this is such an amazing opportunity. You're going to do so great. Most people saw that in me and they were
Mm.
like, look at you, Carolee. Of course you're going to be a great, a great professor. And then I had one person who was like, I can feel your energy around this is really not like good. Like, do you even want this?
Mm.
And I was like, no, I'm not sure that I want this. I never saw this for my life. This was not my plan. My plan was to be on big stages and be singing and now look, I'm an adjunct professor, like teaching one class. This is like 10 hours a week. Like I was way overthinking all of it because I tend to do that a lot.
But it's a
And
commitment, it's a job.
right,
And so
right.
that, of
And
course,
the last like real
takes
job,
planning and
right. I was and I'm going, the last real job I had was like 16 years ago as a Costco sample lady. Like, what am I doing here? I don't, all the stories,
Yeah.
when we're thrust into growth opportunities, the stories that come up are fascinating. And I'm
Mm.
going, I've been an entrepreneur for like 16 years because the
Yeah.
last job I had was as a Costco sample lady. What am I doing here? I don't deserve this.
Mm-mm.
What am I doing in this role that, they just handed me? I didn't earn it. I didn't
Mm.
struggle
Mm.
for it. I didn't, all of the stories that come up
Yes.
around worth and around,
Yes.
you know, jealousies and around comparison and around,
Mm.
the professor that I'm teaching with. I admire her so much, and it made me go into this comparison mode of, I'm not sure I can be as good as she is. I'm not sure,
Yes.
I don't have the
Yes.
knowledge that she has.
Yeah.
How could I ever keep up? And
Mhm.
it's in the inner journey, in the growth work that I've done over the last few years, that after swirling in that for a little while, I will admit, I was then able to take a step back and go, okay, I'm recognizing these stories as what they are. They're just stories that I'm telling myself. I can accept them as reality, or I cannot. I can look at them as things that I'm telling myself that may or may not be true. We don't
Mhm.
have to accept every single thought that our mind gives us.
Yeah.
We can choose to separate ourselves from that and go, is this what I want to take on? Do I want to keep these thoughts that are holding me down and keeping my self worth in a place I don't want it to be at? Or do I want to, look at those thoughts and go, maybe those aren't true?
Mhm.
Maybe the truth is that what she is telling me and what everyone else is telling me is that I can do this. And what's more is that I don't have to know it all today.
Mm.
I don't have to be able to teach this entire semester's worth of content right in this moment. I get to grow into it. I get to learn
Right.
lecture number 1 right now.
I love that so much. It's really trustful. It's like just be present in the moment, trust yourself, trust life, trust the process. You slid in to this and you just surrendered eventually to it. And now here you are, and you look so glowy and happy and lit up and excited.
Yeah.
And we don't know where this is all going, and that's okay because you're still showing up to this podcast and you're still podcasting and you're still doing, I'm sure, all these sort of other
Yeah.
amazing things that you do because you're multi-passionate mama.
Yeah.
So
And
it didn't really take away from anything, or did it? Like, how does it feel? Does it feel like you're more of you? Or is there some sacrifice that's going on? Or how is that reconciling for you?
it's always a both and.
Hmm.
And like, it's funny because that was a title I wrote down in the middle of the night for another podcast episode. I was like, it's always both and. That is just true of all of it. Like, there's always going to be sacrifices. We are handed a limited amount of time and energy, like in this world. Like, I still have 3 kids who I spend about 3 hours every single day driving them around to all their different activities. Like, there's only so much I can do. So I do have to limit because I have limited capacity. So yes, it does require sacrifice, but what am I getting in return?
Hmm.
I'm growing for sure. And there's connections being made. There's push and pull.
Do you
There's
feel, do you and your husband feel a sense of relaxation because there's something that's a little more grounding happening in your life? Does that give you a sense of security that you didn't really feel before?
I don't know yet
Okay.
because today was only day 1. And I
Oh, got
actually
it.
have, yeah, today is day 1. I haven't technically taught yet. So what this kind of arrangement was because I've never taught before. They decided to have the other professor teach one section of this course, and I'm teaching the other. So she's teaching one day, and then I watch her teach it. And I think I wrote 20 pages of notes today on her lecture so that I could then copy the whole lecture the next day. So tomorrow I will be teaching for the first time. So I haven't actually even taught yet. I'll be doing that
Beautiful.
tomorrow, but I was there today watching her lecture so that I could mimic it
I love
tomorrow.
how when we podcast, we're actually documenting our lives
Yeah.
as the lighthouses, as the mothers, as the multi-passionates, documenting our legacy for our children. And for anyone listening, they get to go on this journey with us of discovery. Like, hey,
That
we don't know. Here's the chapter that's about to start.
and that's one of the favorite things, like, because I've taught podcasting for the last, like, I don't know, 6 months, a year, and that was one of
Yeah.
my favorite reasons. I'm like, start a podcast, even if it's just for yourself, so that your kids someday, when they care about the things you have to say, they can go back and they can be like, here was my mom when she was just starting this job, or when she was just doing this, or when she was just doing this. And it's like,
Yeah.
all here. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have those thoughts from my mom when she was
Right.
raising my siblings and I. Like, it's a legacy that you're leaving when you record all your thoughts and then you publish them. And then there's all these other women out there who are like, oh, that's
Me
what
too.
real, yeah, that's what real
Yeah.
women are really thinking right now. Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, let's blow the lid off of all of the assumptions and just get together and share and be real and help each other. Because all of us, like Kathy Heller says, are a hot mess, and that's the secret. And no one wants to necessarily share it, but some of us do. And then we all get to be a little braver and say, oh, yeah, actually, that's hard for me too. Or actually, over here just got really messy, and I don't want, I don't want to
Right.
show you that. But we're all just seeing these kind of perfect
Yeah.
lives online and playing the
Not real.
comparison game. And especially in the sort of entrepreneurial, spiritual podcasting world that we're in, you and I, it's very easy to look at social media and think, wow, these people really have it together. And I play that too. I show my best reels too. And there might be someone looking at my Instagram and thinking, wow, luck, good for her, not for me. But really, like Kate Northrup was saying to me yesterday on the podcast, she said, everyone has something that they need help with, and everyone has something that they're so lit up about, they're so excited about. And that's the leveler.
It's true. Well, and it's like, I'm not filming my kids when they're screaming. I'm not gonna, like, show what life's like on our worst days, because that's not fair to them and it's not fair to me. And it's like, that's not what we want. I don't know. We're not taking our attention away from our families to, like, film it and do all the things, right? We're trying to show, I don't know, whatever it is that we need to get off our chest and put it on, to show the world that, like, life is real. But I don't know, sometimes it's overwhelming, and it's not the overwhelming parts that we're like, hey, look at this, because we're usually too overwhelmed to share that part.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's interesting. Something that you're setting down, Carolee. What is something that you're setting down in this moment in your life, in this chapter?
Mm. I think I'm trying really hard to set down perfection, and
Mm,
I'm, and also the, which and that kind of pervades everything, doesn't it? Like, one thing, I'm having to ask for help more,
mm,
because I
mm.
cannot do everything and I can't be everywhere at once, and having to ask for help for,
Got
like,
it.
hey, can you give my kid a ride, because I can't be in two places at once.
Right. Yeah.
And, like, that one's been like, oh, I've been, one woman showing it for so long, of
Giving
like,
up
oh,
that control? What
right.
because perfectionism is
Mm,
control, and that what you're
yes.
talking about, I relate to, is giving up
Mhm.
control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. It's So on top of, starting at a job, which I've been the flexible one for a really long time, like my kids need it, I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like today I was sitting in that class and I got phone call after phone call and text after text from my kids of like, I didn't know what was going on, if it was an emergency or not, because
Mm.
because I had glanced at my phone and it said it was coming from the school nurse. And I was like, oh no, I hope it's not an emergency. And I couldn't answer it. So I didn't answer it. And there was only like 20 minutes left. So I was like, they'll live for like 20 minutes, right? And then I listened to the voicemail and it was my youngest going, Mom, I need you to bring my sewing kit when you pick me up from school.
Right.
Take it to
Yeah.
the after school thing. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't like declare this as an emergency and leave.
Yeah. Oh
Because,
man. It's
right.
tough.
And
It's
yeah.
tough. But
And it
look
was
at you.
like,
Like, way to go for not just hooking into the urgency.
right. Because with kids, like they always think it's an emergency. Mom, I need your attention right this minute. Please, in 3 hours, bring my thing after school. And
Yeah.
you're like, wait a minute. That's not the kids tend to have this way of like, no, it's always an emergency. And you're like, it's not really an emergency. And then when you have lots of people who need your attention and need your energy all the time,
Hmm.
and you're like, there are some things that have to be prioritized at different times. And sometimes that's me. And that's
Mm.
hard to manage. But one of the things that we're diving back into, which has been a really difficult decision. So I have a severely autistic 13-year-old, and he does ABA therapy, or at least we're starting to do ABA therapy
Hmm.
again. We did it for 10 years,
What does that
and then
stand for?
applied behavior analysis.
Okay.
It's like the big one they do for autism.
Hmm.
So we did it for about a decade. It
Hmm.
was a really long time. And it like takes over your life because they want you to do like
Everything.
they want hours and hours and hours and hours. We were
Hmm.
doing 2 hours a day, which is actually really
That's a
minimal.
lot,
They want like 30 hours a week. So like 2 hours a day
which
was
is a
like, oh,
full-time job.
this is on the low end. And then we stopped doing it for about 18 months. And it was like, we can have a life. We
Mm.
can like take the kids to the pool. We can like have after school activities. Like we can
Mm.
leave our home.
Mm.
Like it was like freedom. But then, my son needed it. Like we weren't
Yeah.
in therapy for 10 years for no reason. Like he
Yeah, yeah.
needed it. And so now we're sort of like, okay, he really needs it. He kind of yells at us nonstop 100% of the time. He keeps leaving the house to go open our
Yeah.
emergency door. Like it's like,
Oh,
oh hey, we really needed
gotta
the
get back to
therapy.
it. Okay.
But the trade-off is
Hmm.
that we're going back to cannot leave our home for they now want us to do like 3 hours after school every night, like
Okay.
4 to 7, like every afternoon. And so my other
Mhm.
two who are not in therapy, like they want to do after school activities, they want to do clubs, they want to do all these things.
Right.
Like I
Yeah.
can't pick you up because I have to be home
Yes.
with the therapy and all the things
Yes.
that are
Yes.
required. And so it's like, in addition to like working this job, and I'm like, if there's an emergency, I have to have somebody to watch my kid if he's homesick. It's
Hmm.
also been like, I need to ask for favors for rides and like
Yeah.
relying on other people to take care of my kids. And the one that keeps coming up in my head is this line of, you shouldn't have kids you can't take care of.
Oh, that's a
Oh,
harsh one.
right. And it's like,
Yes.
ouch,
Yeah. Yeah, that's harsh.
because you're like, wait a minute. Like, even if money was like not even an object at all, it's like, this is like a huge thing for me to be able to go teach at a college to like just on a personal level. Like, it's just such an
For
up
you.
level for
Yeah.
me to
Yeah.
like go have the confidence and have the
Mm.
experience of doing this.
Yeah.
Like, and it's happening while they're at school. And like most of the time it won't be a thing, but it's like, we need communities. We need people we can rely on. And it's not always an easy thing to ask that of
It's really hard for
people
a lot of
around us.
people. Yeah.
That has been a
Oh, a
way that I've
mom
kind
just
of,
asked me 2 days ago if I would occasionally be the backup for her
mm,
daughter because she works a job that she can't be there in the morning and she can't be there when she has to pick up her kid. And I'm like, yep, of course.
yeah, it's
Because
such a,
she's helped me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and it's
It
and
takes
I
a
feel like
village.
there's an extra layer for me where I'm like, I can't promise that my kids are always going to be well behaved. Like some of
Right.
them, I'm like, some of them are going to be good, but some of them are not. God, like, you know, and it's just an interesting thing with motherhood. I feel like motherhood will help you get to know yourself in ways that almost nothing else will. I think
Yeah.
the second one down is entrepreneurship, like building your own business
Right.
will
Right.
teach you things about
Yes.
yourself that you never realized you had to learn. But mother,
Yeah, and then under that maybe is like marriage.
right,
They're all in there.
right, they're all in there, and but that's the purpose of this life, right? Is to get to know yourself better,
Getting to
and it's like
know
how
you.
yeah. And then one thing I want to add is like, especially with what has come with this job, as I was realizing was like, you have a choice. You don't have to up level. You don't have to grow. I could have blown it all up and been like, wait a minute, never mind. I don't want to do it. I don't think this is the right path for me. I just want to stay in this entrepreneurship bubble I've been doing for years and years. Like, pretty sure that's where I belong. I just want to stay in the same thing I've been doing for so long because that's what I know. But then the warning there is like, if you keep doing what you've been doing, you can only expect the same results that you've been getting, right?
Yep.
But you have a choice
Facts.
in the matter,
Hard truth. Yeah.
right? You have a choice in the matter. Are you going to choose to take that leap and grow, or are you going to choose to stay in the same place you've always been? But then one more caveat with that is that we're not usually handed things that make us totally leap. It's going to be out of your comfort zone, but it's going to be in degrees. It's going to be
Mm.
step by step by step, and you're going to have the opportunity to become this new next level version of yourself. You're never going to be forced into becoming a new person. You're going to have the opportunity to become this better version of yourself that you want to be.
It's a good perspective on it, for sure. Yeah. It's interesting because don't keep your day job versus get a job because you've been an
Right.
entrepreneur for so long. You're doing the opposite of what a lot of people are having to have the courage to do, is to actually leave something that they don't want to be doing.
Which was
So
so
that
hard for me because I was like, I'm in this world of entrepreneurs who are leaving their day jobs. I can't go get a job. What kind of entrepreneur would I be if I went and got a job? It's just such a huge identity crisis
right,
in
it's
it
like,
of
well, what
like,
does that mean about me as an entrepreneur?
mhm,
Does that mean I've failed? Does that mean I'm not committed? Does that mean
yep,
I'm not a true entrepreneur? Does that mean I'm giving up my soul? Like, I totally face that
mhm,
every, I don't know,
yeah. Well, it was like, who am I
comes up.
if I'm not an entrepreneur? Like, I've been telling myself
Yes.
this story for, 16 years. Like, this is who I am. And the
Hmm.
story that I really told myself was, I cannot be successful in a job. I can only be successful as a mom with 3 kids if I have my own business. There's no
Right.
way that I could have a job because I couldn't make it work with my kids. That was a story
Right.
that I told
Yeah.
myself
Interesting.
forever. And then here was this opportunity. And so I'm working at BYU, and one of the amazing things about them is that they're very, very family friendly and very like family oriented. And it was kind of like, wait, this could work. Now I
Right.
have to figure out who I am if I'm not the person I told myself I was for the last 2 decades, It'll shift everything. And
It's
that's
so
not always a bad thing.
fascinating. I love the courage that it's taken you. First of all, again, reiterating that you manifested this opportunity for yourself and then you allowed it and now you're in it and it's really amazing to see your courage to change
It,
because
it
I
does take
totally
courage to
get
change.
I totally get the resistance we all have to change. And it's a major shift. So, congratulations. And you have so many gifts. And I think the other takeaway is we don't have to have it all at once.
Yeah.
We can have it in phases and we can explore areas at different times and then we can shift into another exploration. But we're
Yeah.
always getting to show up as ourselves in
Yeah.
however we're, whatever environment or whatever challenge we're taking on. We get to just fully show up as ourselves. And that's such a luxury. That's such a freedom that we get to have as, I don't know,
Yeah.
Americans or,
Yeah, and I think we wouldn't want to have it all at once. Like those things that are on our vision boards, those things we're dreaming of. If we were suddenly thrust into that life, we'd be like,
too much.
"What is this? Like, I don't know who this person is. This isn't me." Like, whoa, it wouldn't be comfortable because we wouldn't be ready for that yet. Like, we have to grow into that person.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
also, like, I'm still doing all those other things that I love. Like, I'm still writing music. I just submitted a song for Sync like just a few days ago. Like, it's like
Yay.
the greatest song I've ever written. Like, I'm constantly writing new music.
Love it.
I have my podcast that comes out regularly. I mean, I'm doing all the things I love that light me up still because that's part of like my self-care journey. That's part of what I love to do. And I think
It
that I was
feeds your
kind of,
soul. It feeds you. It gives you energy. Yeah.
yes, it really does. And I think that I'm just one of those people that would kind of get kind of bored if I was just doing one thing all the time. I
Totally.
want to do many things, and we don't have to have like a full-on business for every single one. Like I'm not
Mm.
sewing regularly, but I suddenly brought back in sewing just to like have some fun and fix up some shirts. And I'm like, I haven't sewn in like a year and a half, but here I go. Let me just like fix up some things. And every once in a while, I'll make some fun earrings. And it's like, oh yeah, I forgot how much I love this and how much like getting my hands into sparkly things like just like fills my soul.
You say that you have a limited amount of time, a limited capacity, but all I'm hearing is endless energy, endless capacity. So just that little reflection back to you.
I know. I have this special skill of I'm actually really fast at doing things.
I swear that you're a manifesting generator,
I
even though
know.
you're a
I
projector.
am a projector. I am very, very surrounded by manifesting generators, and I have soaked up all of their energy, which is probably going to be for the reason I have not burnt out is because I'm doing things that I really love a
Yeah,
lot,
exactly. Yeah,
I think.
because they feed you.
Yeah.
What is the gem that you want to give whoever's listening that you're realizing in this moment in time?
There's so many. Like there's always so many. I think we've said a lot of like you get to become who you want to be and you get to take the time that it takes to get there. But I think with what we were just talking about, it's when you do the thing that you love, and that could be like whatever looks shiny to you right now. Like we talk
Hmm.
about shiny object syndrome, go do it because it brings you energy. There's energy
Yes.
in that. Like you're drawn to that thing for a reason because there's
Yes.
energy in it.
Yes.
When and that's how like that light that comes from doing that thing that you felt drawn to, it
Hmm.
lights you up to do the other things in your life that are less appealing.
It's like instead of follow the breadcrumbs, follow the shiny objects. Is what you're saying.
Well,
Trust,
it's
trust
really
that pull, that Rumi
true.
quote, that like trust that strange pull of your heart, right?
Like I had this
Yeah.
experience once, like many years ago. I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago. We had like the worst Christmas ever. We had just moved here, so it was 2018. My son had just been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Like we had like just the worst Christmas ever, and we had just moved away from family. But I had bought my kids matching Christmas pajamas, and after they had misbehaved and we didn't have all the Christmas stuff ready yet and just had terrible Christmas Eve. I sat them down under the Christmas tree and we bribed them all with a crap ton of candy. And I took a picture of them in their matching Christmas pajamas.
Yeah.
And that picture of my kids smiling at candy that we bribed them with over the top of the camera, right? Because, they probably had been screaming for hours before.
Yeah, totally.
We got one good picture of them in matching pajamas. Like matching pajamas are everything. They will like make you think you like your kids again. Like matching clothes on your kids and you're like, oh yes, I did make cute kids. They might like hellions all the time, but they're cute. Damn it. So put your kids in matching clothes and take a picture and then be like, okay, and bribe them with all the candy. And it'll like put something shiny on it and it'll make you take a picture of it. Because if you can just take that snapshot, and it's also sort of the same concept of like put some sparkly earrings on and some glitter on your face and you'll feel better.
Right.
Like it's that same sort of concept of like,
Yeah.
okay, like if I look at that picture of my kids, I'm like, all right, I can keep going a little bit longer as a mom. And if I like do my hair and my makeup, and then I'm like, all right, okay, I like myself again. Like I can keep going a little bit longer. Like I feel like just there's just something to that shiny object syndrome that can just bring you a little bit of energy, and it can be in so many different ways where it's like if you like cooking, go cook yourself a fancy meal. I hate cooking, so that is not me. Yeah, if I could eat out every single day, that would be me because I hate cooking, but not the point. Like, do the thing that you're like, yes,
That brings the sparkle, that brings the glint in your eye. Yes.
Go do some karaoke, go shake your butt, do your favorite song, like go do something that's gonna like light your soul on fire because you need to. We all need a little bit more of that in our lives.
Yeah, find the glitter or create it.
Yeah.
Make the glittery path.
Yeah, and that can look different for everybody. Like, I love actual glitter, but not with my kids. They can't have it. But I can have it.
I love you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for all that you are, the ways that you show up, the multi-passionate mama that you are, the makeup professor that you are, and all the many things that I know you're going to be showing up as the lighthouse that you are into the future. Thank you, Karaleigh. And thank you for being the Akashic record reading student that you were in my class. That was such a profound gift. I can't wait to continue to grow alongside you. And guys, thanks for listening. Stay tuned for more authentic creative. Bye for now.